Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for episode 3 of our coffee break video series. We've been talking about automation in the last episode, which had 3 parts. It was a massive episode, a lot to talk about. Surprise, we're probably going to talk a little bit about that today. Now, we talked a lot about different service desks doing different things, changing their model. Now I know, Carly, me and you were talking a little while ago about a specific service desk that you've seen doing
so obviously across the customers that we see a lot of internal restructures and maybe IT being delivered in a different way. So it's not just a service desk, but obviously the service desk function within that is also slightly different as a result of the bigger structure. My most favourite one recently is where the organisation very successfully has chosen to deliver services external to the actual organisation itself, other than the service desk. So in other words, a lot of people get very scared about talking about outsourcing your service desk. This organisation has actually decided to keep their service desk there and outsource the rest of IT, which I think is an absolutely brilliant idea. Because, why? Why would that be a good idea, David?
Well, I'm going to say cost, probably initially.
I wouldn't.
Probably initially, because I think many organisations, many organisations look for value for money as well as value, and I think they're two different things. Yeah. I think actually if you go too far in cost, and that's, if you keep a service desk, there's a value thing there, I get that. If you go too far in cost, well, you actually drive the value out as well, which I really believe, so there's a balance there. But I come from that background, and I'm a massive advocate of managed services, and brilliant managed service companies. Yeah. They do a great job of making sure the transition from an old service to a new service is absolutely spot on, so the customer actually feels a better service. Now there's an argument, as you know, there's an argument to say, does it depend on the organisation, the culture of the organisation, how good the current services are around that too. Yeah. But I think it's a mix and match. I think there's a really good argument for both, depending on the organisation.
I think we're going to see that more and more. So a service desk that is supporting a range of in-house and external services. I mean, that is the reality for most people now. You outsource your print service or you outsource something else, but it's a mix of internal and external. What really interested me about the organisation I'm talking about is that they've made a conscious decision that the most valuable part of IT for them
is the service desk.
Is the customer touch point. Yeah. It's that customer touch point, because actually what the service desk can do is tell the decision makers what is important to the customers. So the actual users themselves still have an in, the people they're talking to understand the business, they understand the value of the activities that are taking place in the business, and they can therefore do all the hard work and actually have good, meaningful conversations with the suppliers.
And that sounds like a great organisation to work for. I think we certainly see the opposite of that as well, though.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a very forward-thinking approach to service. It's actually, guess approach. What? Yeah. We're going to ask the people who deliver it to actually be part of the influencing group and the decision-making group as well, because they know stuff. Yeah. Which I think we should be seeing more of. I really do.
I think so as well.
And I think certainly as we talk about, you look at cloud services and the way things are changing, the dynamic is changing in service delivery. That's going to have a massive impact on the organisations that don't understand that.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, I think everything's developing kind of as a service economy. I think there are analyst firms dedicated now to just looking at the as a service economy. And one of the kind of taglines is, you keep what you're good at. Don't worry about the rest of it. Let someone else who's really good at delivering it. Do you think we're going to see that develop more? And what I mean by pick up on its kind of maturity, because we're seeing organisations outsource specific sectors. And values lost in the middle, where the connections just not being made between the two organisations. Do you think as that becomes more widespread, we're going to see better best practice coming out of that?
Yeah, I absolutely do. But again, we were talking in the previous discussion about the role of the service desk analyst. That changes that role. That really does push it to being much more about business focus and supplier focus, and having the right kind of understanding of the things that link together and the impact of those services. So yes, I think it does change. It fundamentally changes our culture and what we're actually delivering.
It's interesting, yeah.
You can take the IT out, can't you, in effect?
You absolutely can. And I think we absolutely should. It is, honestly. It is. I think it's a different thing. It's a completely different sort of context. So I agree totally with that. And certainly as you understand the supply chain, it's a supply chain, and that's a manufacturing thing. Yeah. And there's loads of stuff out there around manufacturing best practices that actually I've seen organisations adopt and create better services as well.
Yes, we'll always have people, won't we? People are always going to be there. And then technology needs to support the people. Yeah. And for me, the service management function is key to
I agree. Yeah.
Even though you're a fan of robots and
I love
everything
robots.
they bring. So.
Well, I'm putting my money on in 10 years. You know what I'm putting my money on in 10 years. So yeah, there's an awful lot to come. Automation. No,
he scaled that up. It was like 1 year earlier.
Don't get me going. Don't get me going on robots.
Fair enough.
That automation thing is a huge, software and automation is a huge part of the next 10 years and what we do as an organisation as well as our customer organisation.
As promised, automation was brought up. I predicted that at the start. Smashed it. Knew it.
Brilliant.
So let's just quickly wrap up with some key takeaways. What do you think? What do you think service desk managers should do now with this knowledge? We know that the industry is flexing as services becoming bigger, potentially outsourcing bits of the organisation that traditionally we wouldn't dreamt of.
Get the right people. Get the right people in your team, and those people are. If you're a technical organisation, they have to have technical skills, but it's broader than that now. It's being able to communicate with the business, but it's also being able to understand the information that they're receiving and make sure that becomes good value. So get the right people and then support and value your people and talk to your business.
Yeah, I agree with that. Certainly, I see a lot of organisations a little bit frightened of looking at propositioning service in a different way.
Yeah.
I honestly, I know it's, again, I would ask people or advise people just to go out and look what other organisations are doing. Yeah. We do an awful lot, right, sort of getting some organisations to meet other organisations, which is great because it's a community organisation. So other people can learn from that, you know. And we do, you know, I've seen some fantastic visits, hosted visits where people have come away and learned a lot. Yeah. So I would say, and you know, there's all types of economic and commercial things related to this, right? Yeah. But I would urge somebody not to be frightened of outsourcing services in any capacity. Just go and look at one, see what they do, understand it. Not go, oh my God, you know, supply management, outsourcing, just go and look at it, read it from it, understand it, you know.
It's cool. Thanks guys, right, I think that's probably all the time we've got for the moment, so thank you for joining us. There'll be another coffee break video coming in your direction pretty soon.
Excellent.
Thanks.